Hey there, you are listening to the Boston Celtics newsfeed. This is Celtics Roundtable. I'm Matt Ignall alongside Evan Valenti and Jonathan, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that Pacers game, specifically one Paul George who lit up the Celtics and sort of looked like his old self. You know, I'll just throw it to you, Evan. You know, with the rumors circulating around Paul George, whether he wants to stay in Indiana, whether he wants to bolt for LA, what would it take for you to want the Celtics to make a trade for him, to take on that risk, knowing full well that he could leave in a year?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm not making that risk unless Paul George commits long term. Like, I won't give up anything for him if he just says, no, I'm going to bolt. Doesn't really matter. Again, there are ways for you to find that out via back channels, whether Paul George will re-sign with you or not. So unless I get that confirmation, I'm really not interested in trading for Paul George. I'm really not. I need guys that are going to be here for the long haul, not guys that are going to be here for 1 year and then bolt to LA. It's just not going to work. That being said, but
you don't think that the Celtics could convince him to stay by showing him what a return to winning looks like?
If he's not convinced right now that the Celtics would be a really great spot for him, then he's an idiot. What do I want?
Yeah, they showed their cards.
Like what do they have to do? They're already the 2 seed. They don't have to give up really anything like of severe importance for him. Like that's just. You get to join a team that's a 2 seed right now in the Eastern Conference. Like that should be attractive enough. They already have pieces in play for you guys to compete for a while. Like I don't understand where Paul George is going to the Celtics without committing long term right away. I don't think that there's like that buffer zone.
Obviously, Paul George is an NBA superstar caliber player, and he's going to stay that way for a long time. Do I think he would put the Celtics over the hump? No. How many Brooklyn picks? I'm talking about beat the Cavs level. What you think Paul George plus Isaiah Thomas plus Al Horford is going to beat the Cavs or the Warriors? You didn't a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I did. I think the thing about trading for Paul George is how much does it take?
I mean, if you could add him for free, he's a great addition, but he's an NBA superstar, but that's not going to get you past the Cleveland Cavaliers, where LeBron James has walked to the finals 6 straight years.
John, you keep saying he walks to the finals. Like they went to Game 7 against the Pacers one year. LeBron could have lost to the Bulls a couple years ago.
Sure, he could have. But it's LeBron
Paul George
James.
is one of like 3 guys in the league that can actually check LeBron James possession to possession.
I don't think the Celtics would be favored, but it gets them closer. At least they could make another move to acquire another star. I mean, we heard that David Griffin was worried that the Celtics were going to get both Paul George and Jimmy Butler. But the price of these guys it's dropping, and it's going to be lower around the time of the draft than it was at the trade deadline. It's probably going to be lower still. I'm at least of the belief that I think the Celtics think that they can convince Paul George to stay. If they were to bring him into the fold in Boston.
But without a guarantee, would you do it?
I mean, it depends on the price. I wouldn't do it for the number 1 overall pick. I probably wouldn't do it for the number 2 either, since I think those guys are really close. But if you have a package centered around, say, the number 3 or 4 overall pick, and you could throw in a wing player, and I don't know. I don't think that Indiana would necessarily bite on something like that, but I don't think it's completely out of the question either if he doesn't get one of those All-NBA slots and they can't offer him that designated player exception, which would allow them to offer an enormous amount of money to him that no other team could come anywhere close to matching. But yeah, he'd make the Celtics really good. The only thing is that the Celtics would still need enough in that war chest to make another move after that in order to bring another star to pair with Isaiah Thomas, Paul George, and Al Horford. I think that's the question. And clearly, what it would have taken to get Paul George at the deadline perhaps wouldn't have left enough.
That's a lot.
I mean, with Isaiah under that cheap contract, I mean, it's having 4 guys for the price of 3.
So for the same asking price, who would you prefer, Jimmy Butler or Paul George?
That's a really hard question. Jimmy Butler has been really great this year, and he's just a guy that you don't look a lot at assist numbers, but he's having a great assist year too as Jimmy Butler. So it's tough. I mean, Paul George is spectacular, and even in the loss against the Celtics on Wednesday night, he was amazing. And what was really amazing, I think, about Paul George is he's just bearing shots with Avery and with Marcus and with Jay and with Jalen in his face. And it's not like, I mean, obviously you go between those guys and there's different levels of defense, but I thought every guy that covered George that pretty much on Wednesday night did a great job. And Paul George is like, no, I'm just better than you guys. And when he's fully clicking, I mean, he is a top, 10, 15 player in the league. But between Butler and Paul, like, I don't know, the contract becomes an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, and then Jimmy Butler's got an additional year under that cheap contract. That might be the difference.
Plus,
actually.
he's bros with Mark Wahlberg, so maybe that's a points for Jimmy Butler. He's already got a connection to the city.
That's what we need, more Mark Wahlberg in our lives.
Dude, I do more Mark Wahlberg in my life. I don't know what you're talking. I'm going to watch Shooter after this.
Oh, Evan. I'd rather have Paul George, I think, for the Boston Celtics. He's less ball dominant. He's a better shooter. And I think he's a better player. I'm not sure. They're both NBA
really
superstars. Good. Yeah. But gun to my head, I think Paul George is a better basketball player at this.
So let's go back to that original question. Evan, you said that you would need a firm commitment.
Yes.
Well, what did you have, like an indication that he was interested that he was very interested in re-signing for the Celtics? Re-signing with the Celtics.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, I'm in.
Would you give a package centered around the number one pick?
No, too much.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Having that cheap contract.
It's Isaiah insurance too. You got to have that IT insurance. Because what if you trade him or he leaves? You got to have a guy to fill in there. That's why I think if it's 1 or 2, they'll keep it and take one of those 2 guys. If it's 3, I think I'm with you, Matt. I think if it's 1 or 2, they'll keep it.
Yeah, right, especially because they can comb free agency.
I mean, what are the other pieces? We got Jay Crowder in there, probably a Jalen somewhere maybe, or Avery Bradley. Like Avery Bradley's got to probably be in the deal, right?
I would think Jay Crowder over Avery Bradley just because of years, right?
Yeah, years of the contract.
Yeah, and positional overlap, something like that. Yeah, it makes a deal seem pretty unlikely. It's hard to see. Like I think Larry Bird said it. I keep mentioning Zach Lowe. But he said it in Zach Lowe's
that article is really recent, so it works.
He said it like Zach Lowe's article, like they can't bottom out. They're not a team that has the luxury of bottoming out, and they haven't done it in like a million years. All right, so Evan, Jonathan, I want to pause for a second to tell our listeners about our favorite ticketing app, SeatGeek. With the playoff push heating up and the Celtics vying for that number 1 seed, we're all planning on getting together and going to a Celtics playoff game at the TD Garden. And what do when we want tickets to Celtics games? Well, we power up the SeatGeek ticketing app on our phones, and with just 2 taps, because it just takes 2, we know we found the best deal because SeatGeek is the smartest and easiest way to get tickets to every game. With SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, you can buy and sell tickets in mere seconds. And it doesn't end with the Celtics or any other NBA game. SeatGeek also has plenty of concert, comedy, and theater tickets available too. And it's all fully guaranteed. Listeners to CLNS Radio can support this production and get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. Here's how. Download the free SeatGeek app, go to the Settings tab and click Add a Promo Code. Then enter the promo code CELTSNEWS, all one word, and SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter the promo code CELTSNEWS today.
Thanks to ESPN's Chris Forsberg of ESPN Boston, we now know that Marcus. I mean, we've all kind of seen it with our own very eyes, but thanks to Chris Forsberg for exposing this stat that Marcus Smart is one of the best players, not only at his position but just flat out in the NBA in points per possession out of the post. He is 6th in the NBA, scoring 1.04 points per possession in the post. He is only behind Kawhi Leonard, who is a freak of nature, Tobias Harris, which is pretty random, Nikola Jokic, who is a dynamo, DeMar DeRozan, who is like one of the best mid-range scorers I've seen in a while, and randomly, Danilo Gallinari at number 1 with 1.21. Guys, this is clearly a part of the offense that Boston likes to take advantage of because Marcus is so good at botting up smaller guards and making right reads out of that particular position. Are you confident that this is going to be a big part of their offense come playoff time, or will other teams find a wrinkle for it?
Well, I'm very confident that it's going to be a part of that it's part of what they do come playoff time because it's some of the most efficient Marcus Smart offense. I mean, he's such a weird player that his points per possession off of drives is pretty terrible, but he's a good pick and roll passer. Shoots only 28% from three, but he takes a ton of them. So yeah, 1.04 you said points per possession for Marcus Smart. That's very, very good for him. And he's a really good passer out of there, so that might be understating it. And of course, he's great at boxing out and tipping the ball and keeping it alive on the offensive end. So, absolutely, especially because I think he might be actually the biggest guard in the league, like in terms of strength. Like, who else could really match up with him? But again, Marcus Smart, he's always found a way to not be a huge negative on offense despite his inefficient scoring. So the fact that he can actually score efficiently on a play, you'll take that.
We're talking about efficiency too. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt, Jonathan, but Marcus, out of that top 10 list, is number 2 in field goal percentage out of the post at 58.2%. He's only behind Enes Kanter at 60%.
But I think it started kind of as a way to inspire some confidence in Marcus early on in the game, putting him in the post, seeing his first shot go in and bullying a smaller player. Then I feel like now they're just doing it out of necessity, because where else do you throw Marcus Smart on offense? It's his only efficient method, that and the foul line, and he's a very good passer with great vision. I feel like people compared him to Jimmy Butler, that, is he going to be a star? Oh, Jimmy Butler. He's more Andre Miller mixed with a little Tony Allen, right?
That's a very good player, by the way.
Yeah.
A player age as well. Just saying.
Not predicated on the 1 foot jump.
The professor was spectacular in his heyday, and his heyday was a very long time. But yeah, the one question I think, Matthew, is this is 10% of the time I think Marcus is on the floor. This is what they run with him, or is that maybe total time in the game? I'm not really sure. It says percentage time, and it says 10%. So my question would be, should that be more or less, or maybe just keep it right there?
I mean, 1.04 points per possession, that's solid, but it's not spectacular. I mean,
the Celtics have the luxury of having a bunch of players who can pass out of the post. Amir Johnson's good at it. Al Horford's great at it. Marcus Smart is great at it. Kelly Olynyk's good at it. The Celtics have so many guys that can do that, and it leads to open looks. And when guys are shooting the ball, like Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, and Jay Crowder can, it's a great offense. I would like to see it more, because every time Marcus does it, he can either get an open shot or give the guy an open shot, and that's great offense.
Yeah, it'd be like, especially maybe when Isaiah Thomas isn't on the floor. I think that's good, because they sometimes struggle to get points that way. But I think Brad Stevens kind of does that already. All right, before we wrap up here, I know you guys wanted to talk about this a little bit. So PB&J, is that a staple of your guys' diet?
I wish.
Yeah.
If I could, I would. You know what I'm saying? Like if I ran that much to eat that much bread, then I probably would. But I don't run that much.
Very underrated food.
Dude, PB&J always works. I don't care what time of day it is. I don't care what day of the week it is. It's just a fact. And the funny thing about this is how it blew up. First off, kudos to Baxter Holmes for putting that piece together.
Yeah, the Kevin Garnett peanut butter and jelly story is great. However, I prefer the Tony Kukoc pregame coffee, cigarette, and before a game.
Yeah, Johnny Most did that too, I think. Johnny would do games where he'd just be huffing a cigarette during the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you do the Terry Rozier special with the spaghetti sandwich with sugar on it.
No, thank you.
What is that? I know he explained how he came up with that, but what is that, and why is that not more popular in NBA arenas, huh? What would it take for you to try a spaghetti and sugar spaghetti, sugar, and ranch, right? It's those three ingredients.
With bread. There's bread on that too, right?
Yeah.
So if Terry Rozier's on the team next season, then you gotta do it.
Yes. You know what? I like this. This is a great bet. If Terry Rozier is on the Celtics, I will make and eat a Terry Rozier spaghetti sandwich.
If he's on the team and they draft a point guard, then you gotta have two.
I think if he's on the team, period. I don't think he's on the team next year.
They're gonna try and get a first rounder for him. We'll see.
I just traded for something.
Him and James Young.
All right, that'll do it here at Celtics Roundtable on the Boston Celtics newsfeed. Why don't you go to iTunes? Give us a 5-star rating.
Please.
Please do it. Terry Rozier, sugar on top. Follow us on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. We'll be back tomorrow. Maybe Celtics Power Rankings. Who knows? We'll see you then.